Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Maya here. Today in this video we will discuss about the preterm labor. In this lecture, that is the part 1, we will discuss about the different definitions associated with preterm labor, the signs and symptoms of preterm labor, the causes or risk factors of preterm labor. We will learn how to make diagnosis of preterm labor and how we can predict about the preterm labor. We know that we start counting pregnancy from the first stage of last menstrual cycle, and fetus usually grows till 37 weeks to 42 weeks of pregnancy. Any time between 37 to 42 weeks of pregnancy, labor can start. If labor does not start, we use other modalities like C-section or induction of labor to deliver the baby. But if labor starts any time before 37 weeks of pregnancy, it is called preterm labor. So, if labor takes place before 37 completed weeks of gestation, it is called preterm labor. Even if it takes place at 36 weeks plus 6 days, we will consider it as preterm labor. Or we can say that before 259 completed days of pregnancy, because 259 days is equal to 37 weeks. If delivery of such fetus takes place before 37 completed weeks of gestation, it is called preterm delivery. So what is the definition? If labor starts any time after 20 to 24 weeks of gestation, because before 20 to 24 weeks of gestation, if expulsion of fetus takes place, fetus is not able to survive, so we will call that as a miscarriage. But after 20 to 24 weeks of gestation, a fetus can survive. So if the expulsion of fetus takes place after 20 to 24 weeks of gestation, we will say that birth. So just write down or note down this time period. If labor starts any time after 20 to 24 weeks of gestation and before 37 completed weeks of gestation, we will term it as a preterm labor because labor has been started before the term pregnancy, that is between 37 to 42 weeks of pregnancy. Causes and risks of preterm pregnancy. In order to learn or understand the causes or risks of preterm pregnancy, you should know a little bit about the anatomy. Now, this is the cervix and this is the uterus, right? And a fetus is present that is attached with the placenta with the help of umbilical cord, and placenta is attached with the innermost lining of the uterus that is called decidua. So this is the decidua, and fetus is covered by a blanket or the fetal membranes. These are two fetal membranes. The inner fetal membrane is called amnion. The outermost is called chorion, right? Now, inside the fetal membranes, there is a fluid that is called amniotic fluid. So suppose that the uterus is a room and cervix is a door, and baby is lying on the bed that is a decidua with the help of a placenta, and the fetal membranes is the blanket, and within the blanket there is a lot of fluid that is the amniotic fluid. If there is any disturbance that will cause the awakening of the fetus will awake, he will cry. The crying of the fetus means the labor has been started, and when the fetus will cry, it will come out of the cervix, mean the birth will take place. What it mean? So this is a cervix. For example, if cervix is weak, if there is a cervical weakness, what will happen in the second trimester when the size of the fetus is larger? It will exert pressure on the cervix and the cervix will dilate, and mostly the patient presents with painless second trimester pregnancy loss. Just write down. Mostly the patient presents with sudden pregnancy loss in the second trimester, and often or mostly it is painless. So cervical weakness is one of the causes of the preterm labor. Normally it should be 3 to 3.5 centimeter in pregnancy, right? But if cervical length is short, it is less than 2.5 centimeter, it is a risk or the cause of preterm labor. So, how cervical weakness can occur? It can be due to many reasons, mostly due to the cervical surgery or cervical trauma. The cervix not only provides the physical barrier or physical support to the growing fetus, but also it prevents the fetus from the ascending infections. How? The cervical cells form the mucus plug. When the cervix will short, when the cervix will dilating, the mucus plug will release. So, cervical weakness is very important factor. Now, what is this? This is the uterus. Any pathology in the uterus can cause preterm labor. How? As we know that fetus require enough space in the room to expand or grow. But if there is any pathology in the uterus, it will cause preterm labor because fetus will not get enough space to expand or grow. So uterine anomalies can also cause preterm labor. So mostly in the second trimester, the preterm labor will start because now the baby is growing. Now what can be other cause? It can be uterine distension. Now due to uterine distension, the walls of the uterus will distend, and due to their distension, there will be release of prostaglandins, and prostaglandins will cause contractions, and due to contractions and due to the effect of prostaglandins, the cervix will start dilating. Now tell me, what causes uterine distension? Uterine distension can be due to two main causes, either due to polyhydramnios, when there is a lot of fluid in the amniotic sac, that a lot of fluid will distend the uterus. Another cause can be multiple pregnancies. If there is a multiple pregnancy, that can cause preterm labor. So write down here that 56% of multiple pregnancy will deliver before 37 weeks. Write down another thing, that the risk of preterm labor or preterm delivery rises with the increase in the fetal number. Now this is the fetal membranes, this is the amnion, and this is the chorion, and this is the decidua, innermost lining of the uterus. If there is infection of decidua or the fetal membranes, it can cause preterm labor. The infection of fetal membranes is called chorioamnionitis because it is chorion, it is amnion, innermost is amnion. So it can cause chorioamnionitis, and the decidua, that is the innermost layer of the uterus, is of course a part of endometrium, so we will call it as a endometritis. So chorioamnionitis and endometritis can also cause the preterm labor. Mostly the infection goes from the vagina, that is a ascending infection. It can also come from the mother, right? So it can be transplacental infection, or it can be induced during any invasive procedure. In most cases, the infection is the ascending infection, right? It ascends from the vagina. Cervical weakness is also one of the cause of the ascending infection. Just remember which is the most important or most common ascending infection, that is bacterial vaginosis. So that is important and can be asked in the MCQs. So whenever there is infection, that whenever there is chorioamnionitis or endometritis, one special thing mostly occurs. What is that? There is the weakening of the fetal membranes. Whenever there will be the weakness of fetal membrane, there will be the rupture of fetal membranes, and due to the rupturing of fetal membranes, all the amniotic fluid will come out. So there can be preterm, premature rupture of membranes. Now, due to this infection and the inflammation of the endometrium and the fetal membranes, there will be release of many cytokines and the prostaglandins, and labor will start. Another important thing you should remember, that This infection not only causes preterm birth but is also fatal for the fetus because this infection will go to the fetus from this umbilical cord because there will be inflammation of everything. The umbilical cord will also involve and through the blood vessels it will go to the fetus and will go to the brain. And in the brain, it will cause inflammation in the brain also. As we know that in brain there is a white matter, there is a gray matter. In case of infection, especially the interleukin 6 causes the inflammation of the white matter that is called periventricular leukomalacia. And due to this inflammation, there can be intraventricular hemorrhage. So now what is this? This is placenta, right? Any bleeding in the placenta can cause preterm labor. Any bleeding during the pregnancy is called antepartum hemorrhage, mean before the labor or birth. This bleeding is called as antepartum hemorrhage. For example, if there is a formation of hematoma, it can also cause preterm labor. How? Either due to the occurrence of infection in this hematoma, it can cause preterm labor, or due to the release of thrombin. As we know that whenever there is a bleeding, uterus does not want this bleeding. So what would be the natural response? Will be the release of thrombin, and thrombin causes clotting. And thrombin also acts on the endometrium and cause the contraction of the uterus. And placental abruption is also the cause of antepartum hemorrhage. During the placental abruption, the placenta will separate from the endometrium, and due to this separation, the prostaglandins will release and the thrombin will release, and both will cause preterm labor. So, in this way, antepartum hemorrhage can cause preterm labor. Another very important factor that can cause preterm labor is stress. The maternal stress or the fetal stress will cause the release of corticotropin releasing hormone that will cause the release of cortisol, and due to the release of cortisol there will be release of oxytocin and prostaglandins, and it will cause preterm labor. So do not neglect this factor, that is the stress. So it is very easy to know about the causes of preterm labor if you know a little bit about the anatomy. So now we will discuss the signs and symptoms of preterm labor. Mostly due to any cause, first of all there will be irritation in the uterine muscles, due to which there will be start of uterine contractions. So first important symptom is uterine contractions. And what is the property of these uterine contractions? That they must be at least 1 in every 10 minutes. What it means? It means that it must be more than 4 in 1 hour, right? So that is important. Second important thing is that they can be with or without pain. So if they are without pain, patient will feel tightening in the belly. So if in any scenario it is written that a patient is feeling a tightening in the belly 1 in every 10 minutes, you can think of preterm labor. So what are the properties of uterine contractions? They are regular, their intensity, frequency and duration increases gradually. So first important thing is that note the regularity. Mean at regular intervals they will occur. Write down or note their duration. For example, if one uterine contraction lasts for 10 seconds, after some time it should last for 15 seconds, then for 25 seconds, then for 35 seconds, then for 45 seconds. So its duration will increase gradually. Third, its intensity will increase gradually. First, we know that there is a mild contraction. Then the contraction increases and they should be moderate, and then it must be severe. Now, its frequency should increase. First, it must be 1 in every 10 minutes. Then, it should be 2 in every 10 minutes. So, its frequency should increase. And we know that due to these contractions, what happens? The cervical length shortens and it starts dilating. And it is very important for the progression of labor, right? So there must be cervical change. There must be, or we can say that, documented cervical change. Due to this decrease in the cervical length and due to dilation, what will happen? This mucus plug, which is formed by the cervical cells, it will get released. And due to these contractions, there can be rupturing of fetal membranes. So fetal membranes can rupture, especially if the cause of preterm labor is infection. So patient can complain that there is increase or change in vaginal discharge. That is also very important sign and symptom. As the preterm labor has been started, and there is a release of prostaglandins, and due to the release of prostaglandins there will be the breaks in the endometrium or the decidua, so patient can present with vaginal bleed. So it is also important sign and symptom of preterm labor. As we know that preterm labor has been started, there will be effacement of the cervix, mean there will be shortening of the cervix, and there will be dilation of the cervix, so the fetal head or the fetus will descend. And due to the descent of the fetus, the patient will feel pelvic pressure and the dull backache. So these are the signs and symptoms of preterm labor. These are also the signs and symptoms of labor, but if these signs and symptoms occur before 37 completed weeks of pregnancy, we will call them as the signs and symptoms of preterm labor. Now, how you will make the clinical assessment, that is very important. A patient comes in your OPD with the symptoms of preterm labor that I have discussed before. So first of all, you will listen to the patient, you will ask for the sign and symptoms. You will also ask about the history, as we know that past obstetrical history is very important. If a patient has a history of previous preterm birth, there are higher chances that in this time she will deliver preterm baby. Now, how you will do clinical assessment? You have to check cervical effacement and cervical dilatation, because I have told you, in order to make the diagnosis of preterm labor, symptoms plus documented cervical effacement and dilatation is important. If a patient has symptoms of preterm labor but there is no cervical effacement and dilatation, we will not label it as a preterm labor. So it is very important that there must be a cervical change. So how you will note the cervical change? The cervical effacement and cervical dilatation, you will check it with the help of first speculum examination. You will introduce a sterile speculum and you will notice the cervical effacement and cervical dilatation. Effacement means shortening of the cervix, right? So first thing you will do this. But if you are not able to do a clear assessment, then you will do digital vaginal examination. So with the help of fingers, then you will note the cervical dilatation and cervical effacement. How we note cervical effacement and dilatation on vaginal examination, I have made another video. You can watch that. Link is present in the description box. So second thing, you will do this. If a patient has a history of pre-prom, you will never do this procedure. You will never do digital vaginal examination because it is contraindicated. You will only introduce speculum. So now write down some important points here which are very important for MCQs and for Viva question. For example, if a female comes at term, presents with the uterine contractions, these are regular. Its frequency, intensity, and duration is progressively increasing. And you do a clinical assessment, you do a vaginal examination, and you notice there is a cervical change or there is a rupture of fetal membranes, you will call it as labor. Why? Because all of it is happening at or after 37 completed weeks of pregnancy. So clear your concepts. But so if this event is occurring after 20 to 24 weeks of pregnancy and before 37 completed weeks of pregnancy, a female presents with uterine contractions that are regular, their frequency, intensity, and duration is progressively increasing, and you did a vaginal examination and there is cervical change or there is rupture of fetal membranes, you will say that it is a preterm labor. In order to call it as a preterm labor, there must be a cervical change. Now, another important definitions that are associated with preterm labor, that are patient has symptoms of preterm labor but it is not associated with any cervical change or there is no rupture of fetal membranes. We will call it as threatened preterm labor. So in threatened preterm labor, patient has symptoms of preterm labor. She can have uterine contractions, she can have tightening in the belly, but when you did the examination, there is no rupturing of fetal membranes and there is no change in the cervix. We will say it that there is a threat to the fetus that it can go into the preterm labor. Now, another very important definition. If a patient has symptoms of preterm labor and you did a speculum or digital vaginal examination and it confirms the change, right? Mean there is a dilation, there is a shortening of length of the cervix, but the cervical dilatation is less than 4 centimeter. Mean there is a cervical change, but the dilatation is less than 4 centimeter. You will call it as suspected preterm labor. That is very important. If a patient comes to your OPD, you will not say that, ma'am, the patient has symptoms of preterm labor and I suspect that she might have preterm labor, because in OPS, you will label such patient with suspected preterm labor when you will do speculum or digital vaginal examination. And you have noticed, you have documented that there is cervical dilatation, but it must be less than 4 centimeter. Even it is 3.5 centimeter, you will say that she is a case of suspected preterm labor. Now, if a patient comes in your OPD with the symptoms of preterm labor, especially she is experiencing regular uterine contractions, and now what you will do? You will do speculum or digital vaginal examination, and on this examination you have documented cervical change. As you have documented that the cervical change or the dilation of cervix is 4 centimeter or more, you will not label this case as suspected. You will label this case as established preterm labor. So in this case, what you will label? You will label as established preterm labor, mean preterm labor has been established. Now she is going to give birth soon, right? So this is very important definition you should know. If a patient is a suspected case of preterm labor, what it mean? If a patient comes to you in your OPD and she gives you the symptoms of preterm labor, you did vaginal examination and you have documented the change in the cervix. The cervix is short, the cervix is dilating, but its dilation is less than 4 centimeter. You will label such case as the suspected case of preterm labor. You will perform one of the diagnostic tests, either fetal fibronectin test or you will do transvaginal ultrasound, right? I will tell you about these tests later. If any one of the diagnostic tests is positive, mean if you perform the fetal fibronectin test and the value of fetal fibronectin test is 50 nanogram per ml or more, the test will be positive. If you offer her a transvaginal ultrasound and the length of cervix is 1.5 or less than 1.5 centimeter, it means that this test is positive. So if any one of these diagnostic tests is positive, you will label it as diagnosed preterm labor. Now the diagnosis. It is very important to make the diagnosis of preterm labor. When a pregnant lady will come in your OPD, you have to ask about the sign and symptoms of preterm labor. And then you have to ask the history. History is very important. You have to rule out all the risk factors or the causes that is very necessary to make the diagnosis. For example, if a patient has a history of cervical trauma, so most probably the cause will be cervical weakness, right? Or if a patient is chronic smoker, most probably the cause will be placental abruption. And if patient is not a primary gravida, then past obstetrical history is very important and you will do clinical assessment. Now, in order to confirm your diagnosis, what you will do, you will either perform fetal fibronectin test or the ultrasound, that is the transvaginal ultrasound. In order to understand that how you will diagnose the preterm labor, just remember two things. First, fetal fibronectin. Fetal fibronectin is just like a glue. It is a glycoprotein which is produced by fetal cells. It is present in the amniotic fluid, in the fetal membranes, in the decidua. Before 20 weeks of gestation, it can be detected easily in the vaginal fluid or in the cervical fluid. But after 20 weeks of gestation, there is a complete fusion of fetal membranes with the decidua. So you will not able to detect high concentration of fetal fibronectin in the vaginal fluid. Mean its concentration should be less than 50 nanogram per ml. So between 20 to 36 weeks of gestation, if a patient presents with a preterm labor, because of the pain, there will be contractions, there will be detachment between the fetal membranes and the decidua. There can be release of fetal fibronectin in the vaginal fluid, right? So between 20 to 36 weeks of gestation, if the levels of fetal fibronectin are less than 50 nanogram per ml, you will say that fetal fibronectin test is negative. It must be less than 50 nanogram per ml. But between 20 to 36 weeks of gestation, if the levels of fetal fibronectin are 50 or more, then you will label that this diagnostic test is positive, mean the patient is in preterm labor. She can deliver this baby within 48 hours. Number second thing, you have to check the cervical length. That is very important because during the preterm labor, the cervix will become short and it will become dilate. So you have to check its length. And how you will check its length? Best mode is by the ultrasound, that is transvaginal ultrasound. And in transvaginal ultrasound, as we know that during the pregnancy, the cervical length must be 3 to 3.5 centimeter. And when we call the cervix as a short cervix, when the length of cervix is less than 2.5 centimeter. So in order to make the diagnosis of preterm labor, the cervical length must be 1.5 or less than 1.5 centimeter on transvaginal ultrasound. So make your concepts clear. For example, if a patient comes to you with the symptoms or signs of preterm labor and you did speculum or digital vaginal examination and you have noticed some change, you have suspected that it might be preterm labor, you will offer a diagnostic test, either fetal fibronectin test or the TVS, that is a transvaginal ultrasound. Which one is best? TVS is best. But if the facility of TVS is not available, you will offer the fetal fibronectin test. Don't perform both tests at the same time. So the first test is fetal fibronectin test. If fetal fibronectin test is 50 nanogram per ml or above between 20 to 36 weeks of gestation, mean this test is positive. So always remember, if a patient comes to you with the sign and symptoms of preterm labor and you think that you will perform this test, that is a fetal fibronectin test, do not perform digital vaginal examination. Take the vaginal swab or vaginal fluid or perform this test before the digital vaginal examination. So first important thing is that. Number second important thing, ask the history. If a patient has a history of vaginal bleed or she has a history of intercourse, within last 24 hours, do not perform this test. So first important thing is that the best test is the TVS. If she has a positive fetal fibronectin test, do not go for transvaginal ultrasound because this test is enough to make the diagnosis. You will make the diagnosis that patient has diagnosed case of preterm labor. She will deliver this baby within 48 hours. Now the second diagnostic test, this is the transvaginal ultrasound. This is the best test, right? It is the best diagnostics test. What is the criteria? If the cervical length is equal or less than 15 millimeter, you will make the diagnosis of preterm labor. Now we will learn about the prediction of preterm delivery, that how we can predict that this time you are going to deliver a preterm baby. We can predict by the past obstetric history and with the help of ultrasound. So if a female is pregnant for the first time, it is difficult to predict in her about the preterm delivery. And in ultrasound, we measure the length of the cervix, which is a very important factor in the prediction of preterm delivery. The combination of cervical length and obstetric history can predict 80.6% of preterm delivery. The reference is 10 teachers. Now first is the past obstetric history. If a female has a history of preterm delivery, she has a higher chances of preterm labor this time. Here the relative risk of preterm is given. What it means? This can be asked in MCQs like, if a pregnant lady has a history of preterm delivery, then in the subsequent pregnancy, mean this time the risk of preterm delivery is 4 times greater when compared to a woman whose previous delivery was term. So if a female has a history of 2 preterm births, she has a greater risk of a preterm labor this time. So past obstetric history is very important. Ultrasound. In ultrasound, we measure the length, and the best ultrasound is transvaginal ultrasound, in which we have to measure the length of the cervix. Normal, the cervix length is about 4 to 5 centimeter when not pregnant. But when a female is pregnant, just remember the cervical length is about 3 to 3.5 centimeter. Just remember this figure. But if cervical length is short, but when the cervical length will be short, when it will be called a short cervix, when it is less than 2.5 centimeter or less than 25 millimeter, right? If on transvaginal ultrasound, that is usually performed during the anomaly scan between 18 to 22 weeks of pregnancy, and it is less than 2.5 centimeter, you will consult the patient that you have a higher chances of preterm labor. In the next video, we will learn about the prevention of preterm labor. We will learn about the types of cerclage, and we will learn about the management of preterm labor.